Good evening, guys. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of Keep It on the DL. I'm Devin Buonanno, and alongside me on the other end of the phone is the awesome Louis Angiolillo. So anyway, Lou, let's get right to it tonight, my man. We're going to have a short show tonight, obviously with everything that's going on with the virus. It's definitely keeping it to a minimum, so not by choice, but we definitely got some stuff to talk about. Probably the biggest news, both literally and figuratively, is Brady already picking out a house in Tampa. What are your thoughts on that?
Brady picking out Jeter's house in Tampa, staying at the Jeter residence down there. You know, it's really it's kind of crazy. It's arguably the two best players of their generations. He's just moving into Jeter's house. You know, I mean, he's the GOAT of quarterbacks since 2000, and Jeter's the GOAT of shortstops since 2000. So, you know, you got two GOATs living in each other's houses there. So that's pretty funny. And I also think that this is a way of possibly you're going to see some kind of business here with Brady and Jeter. You saw them have that big, powerful dinner. Who else was there at that dinner? It was like Jeter, owner. Brady, owner of the Lightning. Brady's got something going on. He's gonna drop something big, whether it's in addition to his TB12 brand, or maybe he's trying to own a team when he retires.
Yeah, not a bad guy to learn from either. I mean, I definitely can see them being good friends. I mean, obviously they know each other, one being from New York and Boston, and I'm sure they cross paths a whole lot. They're definitely not strangers. I mean, I definitely think it's something to read into, whether there could be business partners along the way, or it could just be something as simple as just him moving into the house too. But the one time I went down to spring training in 2015, I wanted to drive by the house, and I mean, dude, it takes up the whole block. I mean, you really can't really see the whole thing because it's so big, and there's bushes, but I mean, it's beautiful. It's right on the water, and it's just huge. So
yeah, I bet he's got that thing that house pretty secured and locked up.
Secure. So Brady definitely is going to be living lavishly down there. Whether the kids are going to be down there or not, you know, that's another thing. At least for me, I'm always so interested in the logistics of how that works. You know, I mean, Brady obviously played with the Pats for over 20 years. His kids were born and raised in the Boston area. Like, what do you do? Does he just live there from July until February for the season, including training camp and if they go to the Super Bowl? Or does he move all of his kids and even Giselle and they go down to school down there? I mean, those are the things I am always interested in. Whenever they have articles that come out on that and they ask, you know what I'm saying?
Right. That's the struggle of being an athlete, though, is having to deal with, you know, your lifestyle and being on the road, and you're going to have to either say, hey, you and the kids, I'm dragging you around with me, or hey, Dad's going to be on the road for the next 6 months. You know, I'll come home on my bye week.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the name of the game, and I'm sure that, I mean, obviously it's not like he wasn't prepared, but it's still going to be tough for him. But I mean, I'm sure the kids understand too. So I wouldn't.
Yeah, of course. There's worse things in the world than Tom Brady being your dad.
Well, I don't know. Judging off of that one, what was that TV series where he was kissing his son?
Oh, okay. I forget. I don't know the series. We all know the video, but okay.
Get that picture out of my head now. All right. Anyway.
There you go. Thanks for that, Dev. Let's move on from Brady now.
Yeah, please. Well, moving on to the other side of the ball, we touched upon this last episode, but was Jadeveon Clowney. So, obviously, last episode we recorded about 9 days ago, last Tuesday, and Clowney is still a free agent. His asking price was just about $20 million coming out of the gate, and he really hasn't had too many offers of that. I know he's still been in contact with the Seahawks. As of right now, the Titans have been chiming in. And then as a Jet fan today, I was reading a bunch of articles how the Jets have been calling him too. So
Yeah, the Jets did get in on the action a little bit.
action.
I think next week could be Clowney week. I think Clowney could be signed next week because the offer finally came down. You're not going to get this $20 million offer coming off. I think he said it was 3-sack season. That's just not $20 million a year worthy at all. So coming down to 17, you might see, maybe a $15 million, yearly deal with a kind of incentives, a little more incentive based. Like you reach double-digit sacks, that's a $500,000 to $1 million bonus.
Exactly.
So I'm a big incentive guys in contracts. So I was signing guys, I would give them large incentives. I would try to make it as incentive based as I could. You play 16 games, an extra $500,000 for everyone. Just playing 16 games is so valuable.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, but I mean, it just depends on. I mean, every guy's gonna be different as far as how they view incentives. Maybe judging by Clowney, he seems like a money guy. And he's going to want the money up front in the contract. He's going to want those guarantees.
Absolutely.
And so,
but then that's the other angle, Do I want a guy that's here just for the money and he's just being like, yeah, I'm not doing your incentive stuff. I'm not pushing myself to get 10 sacks. It's like, no, I want to be like, all right, coach, I see you. I'll take that deal and I'll guarantee you that I get those 10 sacks. That's more the attitude that I would be going for. Not someone that goes, no, I want that money now, regardless of my play on the field. It just would rub me the wrong way.
But, it's going to be one or the other. You're either going to get the money up front, or you're going to get even more money, but you're going to get incentives. It's almost like when you win the lottery. You can either take the annuity or you could take the lump sum. With the lump sum, you get a hefty tax, but with the annuity, you get about a reduction of half that tax or whatever it is, I believe. So. It's similar. It's a tough decision, but I mean, I can't blame him. He's playing the market. He's the top pass rusher out there. There's a lot of teams that need pass rushers, especially the Jets.
Yeah, still hands down.
Want him back. So he's playing the market. I mean, people are going to have to pay. A simple thing like supply and demand. So I don't blame him, but I mean, he wasn't worth $20 million to begin with. I don't even think he's worth $18 million. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. Who's going to budge first, but I'd love to see the Jets get in on this if the price goes lower.
Yeah, I think we'll see something next week, I think.
Absolutely. Next up, what we got now? All right, so the Astros. I mean, obviously, with sports not going on, it's been tough to kind of grab some topics to talk about, but just this week, especially for me, I know, Lou, you've been hurting too, but today was supposed to be opening day at the stadium. That place was supposed to be packed. It would have been a windy day, but it was a beautiful day. Perfect day for some baseball. Unfortunately, we didn't have that. And hopefully we'll have a season, but nobody knows. And whether we have...
Nobody knows when this thing's going to start.
Nobody knows when it's going to start. And whether or not we're going to have a season, guess what? AJ Hinch and their GM are still... that this year is still going to count towards their year punishment. So let me hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so if there's no baseball season, then Lunhau and AJ Hinch are clear. They're in the clear, which I think is totally absurd. It's ridiculous because guess what? Domingo Germán's suspension is still going to be active next year. He's going to have to sit all those, I think 82 games. He's going to have to sit all those games while AJ Hinch and Lunhau are back in baseball. And like they did the same amount of work as every other manager in that season. They just totally skated through. I think it'd be terrible if they just be like, yeah, you're good. Yeah, everything's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, maybe this is why we haven't heard anything out of Boston yet either with their Apple Watch gate to see, what these punishments are going to be. So maybe they're going to hold off until play resumes, and maybe they'll be like, once we have a date for opening day, then they'll come out with the Red Sox punishment, or if it's even just a fine. But to maybe not run into that issue that they're running into now, where if there's no MLB season, that Hinch and Lunhau will be able to be a GM and coach of whatever team they choose to go to in 2021, and they don't want to do that with the Red Sox, suspend Cora, and then Cora's in the same boat as they are. Maybe they're waiting for the season to definitely know that they're going to be underway and then introduce the punishment. So that's the only thing I can see that's still delaying this Red Sox punishment. But yeah, I think that's an awful thing that Luenhow and Inch won't have to sit out another year if there's no baseball. And all these other players that have, had those weird, kind of things where it's like, yeah, but I kind of sat for these 10 days. They played baseball, and I still have to come back and still serve another, 10 days on my suspension. So.
No, I don't think
I'm
so
not a fan.
I mean, I think this is completely. I just don't understand the thought process here. I mean, but to be honest with you, I can't say I'm surprised. I hate Manfred, obviously. The whole investigation, completely botched. I just don't... But this doesn't surprise me. When I read this today and I heard that, I'm like, of course. Of course. Why would it be anything else? They haven't been held accountable at all. The correct punishments were never in place.
No.
But I think that there's more to it. I think the PA is definitely behind it, representing both of them, somehow. Something legally behind it, because I mean, interestingly enough, if there's no season, it still counts towards a year towards everyone's contract too. So Mookie Betts might not play season with the Dodgers. It's the same thing. So I guess there's a little bit of a gray area too. I mean, I'm really not trying to defend Manfred at all, because this just pisses me off so beyond belief. But I'm trying to reason a little bit, and that's the only thing I can kind of think of, is that it's counting towards a year towards everyone else,
Right. The moment this whole thing went down the crapper was when Manfred told the Astros players, you guys will not be punished. Because that right there just basically, you just let them off scot-free. It's like getting the whole class that found the cheat sheet in the teacher's desk, and they all got 100 on the test, and you tell the kids in the class, and you go, hey, kids, you guys will not be in trouble if you just come forward and tell us what happened. And then they all go, yeah, Carlos Beltran stole the test off your desk and gave us all the answers. And it's just like, okay, well, we're going to suspend the assistant teacher and the vice principal. That's basically what happened.
That's a good analogy, Lou.
It's just, it was the whole thing. It's like, no, the students are the ones that messed up and needed to be punished, and now you're just throwing the blame on your teacher and just going to say goodbye to the principal. But if they knew about it, of course, then it's a different kind of thing. But the students are the one that ultimately made the decision,
the whole thing
and
is frustrating.
cheated.
And obviously being a Yankee fan, not even a Yankee fan, a baseball fan, is throwing fandom to the side. But just the whole thing is just so frustrating. Just everything between Manfred and how we handle it, like I said before, and how the Astro players, I mean, they'll run their mouths the whole season, carry the bat to halfway to second base, like Bregman did, things like that. You're gonna do that, and then don't hear a peep, and then have a complete.
Yeah, you're gonna flex those test scores and not study for the test. That's
I can't even talk. It gets me
like.
so frustrated. I'm moving on to the next topic. I'm done. The next one.
Here we go.
At least for me is, I mean, again, the whole situation is just so sad. Obviously, with the loss of lives and how it's been impacting everybody. But Toronto, earlier this week, Toronto came out and said that they're banning all public events until June 30th. So pretty much you can kiss the MLB, I mean, not the MLB, hopefully not, the NHL and NBA seasons goodbye. I really think so. Unless...
I mean, I don't... I know, I was going to say, I don't think, I think June's their deadline. I think if they can't get a playoff, simulation there in by June, then the NBA and NHL are done. Going into July would be just too much. The players would have been off for three months? March, April, May, 4 months. Yeah. 4 months. Yeah. They were off most of March, yeah. So the players will be off for 4 months having to come back and start playing basketball. They just call it quits at the end of it. Just say, that's it. That's it. Just call it come July. I mean, if you can get it in June, everyone wants to see a playoff. We're all begging for something. So it wouldn't be the worst thing for them to do a playoff in June. But let me tell you, I mean, that's Canada, right? So there's how many hockey teams are in Canada? I think 6, 7.
That's just Toronto.
Right, I know it's just Toronto, but I feel like, the rest of Canada could take a lead in on here and start doing similar things. But maybe just Toronto's an infected area. I really don't know how the virus is doing in Canada. But
I've been playing with this in my head over the past few days. If the NBA and NHL really want to get back to it and finish the season up, I mean, Toronto's going to have to... I mean, it was their fault, I mean, obviously it's not the fans' fault, but it was their government was the one to implement this. They might have to be the only cities with no fans. I mean, it stinks for the NBA with obviously the Raptors having another great season, and then with the NHL's case, I mean, that's going to be... I think that's a telling tale for the NHL because they love the Leafs. The NHL eats, sleeps, and breathes the Leafs.
Oh, yeah, and the Leafs were what? The Leafs were a playoff team?
Right on the cuffs, though. They were right on the edge. Not having fans in Toronto is really going to hurt them, and the NHL really thrives on their escrow, and they really thrive on their revenue, and that's really... I mean, there's so many things really that go into this. Like, I'm very interested to see how each league tackles this crisis because it's going to affect for years to come. Because hypothetically, obviously, if they do play the season, do you have an off season? How do you do the lottery for each league? How do you do the draft? How do you do free agency?
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
It's going to be crazy. Even for the NBA too, right? With all their lottery stuff too. Same
thing. One
thing
that gets me, and obviously all these leagues are money-driven leagues, you have to think about the cap. The cap is going to be the hardest thing.
Right. Well, didn't they say they were taking something away from them? They weren't getting their full salaries this year in the NBA or something. Someone would have to look into that more. I'm not going to get into it now because I don't know enough about it. But I felt like I saw something where, a fourth of their salaries might have been, taken away. Because I know that the minor leaguers in baseball are getting a very low wage right now, and even MLB veterans are getting, I think they said $4 million for something, maybe $4,000 a day or something like that. MLB veterans are making. Yeah, but no one. I don't think anyone's getting their real salaries anymore. I think they have to cut back, and that's another thing. Everything's getting screwed. NBA's getting screwed out of money. They've been getting screwed out of money since the whole China and Hong Kong thing. They've been getting screwed out of money. NHL now is getting screwed out of money, and the NCAA is almost going to be in debt here.
I just feel bad for the athletes in March Madness, but I could
NCAA
literally care less. About
100%. But I'm telling you, that doesn't help the cause for paying their players at all. Is you can say, look, we don't have any money to pay them. We don't have any money right now. They're not going to play. It doesn't help their cause. It sucks. Everything's just going down the tubes. It's financially.
Very true. And honestly, I think the only reason why they want to have the leagues come back is because they want to get revenue. They want to make some of the money back. That's the only reason, which is understandable.
Oh, it's all about the money. Absolutely.
I think it's a waste.
What do you think? You have a date in mind?
I don't.
You have a deadline date in mind?
There's just no way of telling. It's not like they're going to sit.
See, I just think that if you're in the NBA and NHL and your playoffs start, the first round of playoffs starts any time after June 1st, I'd call it. I'd be like, no, we're not doing that. It's over. It's over. That's it. Go into your summer league, have your summer league, and then get back to it next year. I think June 1st is a cutoff date for me. I think if you have to start it after that, it's too late.
It stinks because as a fan, playoff hockey. I know we've talked about this Lou off the record, but playoff hockey is awesome, and NBA playoff basketball is amazing too.
Yeah, until you get later on, no one needs to see a 1 versus 8 seed, 7 games. That's ridiculous. But
are great. But
yeah, there you go. those games.
I'm just gonna be so upset about not having playoff hockey at all. Like right now, next week, I should be gearing up to watch a Lightning Bruins first round playoff series potentially. I mean,
and you're a Devils guy, so it didn't even matter for you. I mean, look at the Rags were hot. The Rags were right there. They were in the hunt right there. You coming off Zibanejad's 5-goal game. He was on fire, and Rangers fans got lifted up for that, and now it's just like it doesn't even matter anymore. And I think all Knicks fans are like, they were at the point where I can't watch another Knicks game, and that's exactly what they got.
It just stinks. I mean, I feel bad for obviously the teams like the Flyers. Like they came out of nowhere and they're the second seed in the Metro, and you were gonna have Penguins Flyers in the first round. I mean, that would be awesome. It stinks. I mean, not having playoff hockey, any playoff sport, any playoff series is gonna hurt. And I just want sports. I just don't know what to.
And Wimbledon's canceled for the first time in years too. More golf, more tennis stuff. Same thing. Just everything's been canceled.
Can you imagine that? First time in 80 years that
crazy.
They canceled Wimbledon. And that's in July. That's the end of June.
Yep.
So that's gonna stink.
Yeah, so we all know this virus is just terrible. And, before we move on to our final segment, my date for baseball is July 1st. If you can't start games before July 1st, it's going to be real tough to get a season in.
Games, Lou. You're going to have
really
spring
tough
training all over again.
Because I think come July, you only have room for 90 games with doubleheaders. You have about 90 games with doubleheaders, giving teams like 3 days off from July to September. I think you need to reach that 100-game mark. Because you start July 1st, 31 days in July, 30 in August, and 31 in September, I believe.
That sounds good. I mean, so how many doubleheaders would they have?
Yeah. No, July and August have 31 days. September's got 30. But like I said, you play every single one of those days, you're at 92 games. And then you're going to have to schedule in double headers maybe to get that 100-game season. That's what they're trying to do. And maybe you play in August, and then, like they said, World Series being held in a warm climate or a dome, just so they can, have it playoff start in November maybe.
Hate that. But again, if you go...
I mean, I would rather that than not have a season, though, to be honest. You can't tell me you'd say, like, no, don't even do it then. I would be like, no, have it and just have to do it.
Just
this 1 year.
Win the World Series out in Dodger Stadium and play Dodger. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. It's like winning it on the road, which I guess you have to do because what are you going to do? You're going to have the Twins playing in the ALCS in mid-November outside in Minneapolis? Come on. The Mariners
absolutely
playing
not.
in the ALCS? I mean, Seattle doesn't get too cold, but... I mean, Minneapolis, I don't know why. Target Field, I know we were talking off the air again. You've been to every stadium, and I've been to Target Field too, but I'm sure you can agree that is a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous park. I love it. But
yeah. You could almost say have the NL playoffs, neutral site in Miami, have every NL team go play in Miami, and have like every AL team go play in LA.
You absolutely can do it. Or even Houston you can do.
I mean, it's not the worst thing, but to keep the climates the same and not to have those playoff games in Minneapolis would help. But like I said, I think, July 1st has got to be that date that they have to start. Get all your little spring training, 2 weeks of spring training, like out of the way in June if they could, the last couple weekends in June. Just try to get it out of the way there and start in July, because if they don't start in July, and less than 100-game season is tough. These guys play 162.
I know, and you know what else is going to be weird? I was actually thinking today, for example, like you said, July 1st, you're going to be walking in the Yankee Stadium, it's 100 degrees, you're walking in for opening day. That's going to be so strange.
Pretty much.
It should be like game 93,
Yeah, I'd rather that than no baseball. I mean, any way you can give us baseball, just do it. Because if they don't end the hockey season or basketball season and they don't start the baseball season, then we're going to be sitting here like this, July and August, with things that are able to go on.
The MLB, the NHL and the NBA are toast. I've just come to that conclusion. I just don't see how they bring them back. It's so sad, but I mean, it's nobody's fault except the Chinese.
All right, that sums that up.
Next up, our last segment, I'm going to start off with you, Lou. Give me your top 5 sporting events you've ever experienced. So I'm not talking it.
All right, starting with number 5. I was at the 2012 Game 3 ALDS Yankees Orioles. Raul Ibanez pinch hits for A-Rod, hits the tying homer, and then in the 12th inning comes up and hits the game-winning homer. That's at number 5. That's my number 5 right there.
And right with Ibanez.
I was in right field. I was upper deck right field, about 10 rows up maybe. And he hit both of them my way. When you just when the ball is hit your way, you can see it a lot better and know what's going out or not. Both of them, you just throw your hands up in the air. As I'm doing right now, you can't see me. But as you throw your hands up in the air and just watch it, and you're just mesmerized, and you're like, did that just happen?
And Ibanez went off that series. The whole playoffs.
It was.
Great playoffs that year.
The tobacco Terminator.
Yeah, Raul is so cool. What an awesome call by Sterling.
Is so cool.
What an awesome call. Oh man. Well, my number 5 is kind of similar. It was Game 6 Eastern Conference quarterfinals, 2012. Devils Panthers at the Rock Prudential Center. Devils were facing elimination, trying to force a Game 7 and go back down to Sunrise against the Panthers. Obviously, eventually, Adam Henrique scoring a game-winning goal in double overtime in Game 7 to send the Devs to the semis, but wouldn't have been for Travis Zajac in overtime. Something I'll never forget. That was probably the first playoff series I was really, really, really into. It was the first year. They made the playoffs for 14 straight years, from 95 to 2010. And then 11, they unexpectedly missed the playoffs. Zach Parise tore his meniscus, so that didn't help. But they came back with a vengeance. 2012 overtime, about 7 minutes in, Zajac just goes short side on Jose Theodore, send the series back down to Sunrise, and the rest is history. So no way.
Yeah, nothing like an OT winner in hockey. Nothing like it. All right, my number 4. All right, funny story, number 4. So I was in Detroit's ballpark. This was at Comerica, doing my stadium tour. I've been to every one. For those of you who don't know, I've been to every MLB ballpark. So when we're in Detroit, where they're playing the White Sox, and I'm like 5 rows back from the White Sox dugout. So Jim Thome hits a homer, and we're just like, oh, Thome homer, nice. Big guy, a lot of home runs, just cool. Second time he gets up, he homers again. And sure enough, as he's rounding second base, on the Jumbotron they put up, congratulations, Jim Thome, on number 600. And I'm just like, my jaw dropped. I'm like, that was his 600? We just saw his 599th and 600th home run? And Thome was only hitting 15 a year at that stage in his career. And I was just like, jaw to the bottom of my seat, just like, Thome just hit his 600th. We just saw Jim Thome's 600th home run. One of 8 people in the Major League Baseball to hit 600 home runs. It was just so surprising and just so starstruck. The whole team came out and congratulated him at home plate.
That's very cool.
And we were 5 rows from it.
And
that was awesome.
He's one of the best hitters, at least in our generation. Watching him, very, very, very.
One of 8 players to reach that milestone.
I'm just envisioning his swing in my head, his left-handed swing. He was a big guy, a powerful swing. He just really carried the ball too. Oh yeah, hit to all fields, absolutely.
Yeah, hit to all fields
number 4
too.
for me. It's another Devils one. Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 2012. That same year, Devils went into the Garden. Went into enemy territory. Devils Rangers in the playoffs. The most terrifying playoff series I could possibly imagine. And I really did not think I would get out of that playoff series alive, but I did, and the Devs did too. But I went into the Garden, and the Devils were up 3-0, 3 quick goals in the first period. I was loving it. I was cheering. The garden was quiet. It was awesome. Wearing all my Devil stuff. Of course, the Rangers got to tie the game in the second. I believe it was the second period, make it 3-3, and I just could not believe it. And later on, third period, Ryan Carter scores the game ends up being the game-winning goal for the Devs to win 5-3 after they scored an empty netter. And it was the first time I had a whole cup of beer poured straight onto my head, just completely chucked on my back. Completely chucked. I was soaked. I smelled like Budweiser for the rest of the night, but I really did not care less. I will never look at the Garden the same. I walked out of there with such a smile on my face, and of course the next game, Adam Henrique, again the playoff hero of that series, in Game 6 sends the Devs to the Stanley Cup Final, beating the Rangers, and that's something I will never forget for my life.
All right.
Yeah, of course not.
No comments from me on that one. Now, number 3 on the list, and I put this at number 3 because I'm doing this by experience, not by, what things that I saw that were unbelievable. But yes, this was unbelievable. But it comes in number 3 because, like I said, I'm going by my emotion and experience of being in the ballpark. Number 3 was Felix Hernandez's perfect game at Safeco Field. Day game. I was sitting in the outfield above the Seattle bullpen, which was not used, only for Felix Hernandez in pregame. No one else warmed up, obviously. So we were sitting maybe 2 rows back from there. The ball Felix Hernandez warmed up with, my brother was in 6th, 7th grade at the time. And Felix Hernandez looked up, saw my brother, the cute little blonde kid in the stands, threw the ball right to John, my brother. Giancarlo caught it, and he has that ball in his room. The ball that Felix Hernandez warmed up with awesome. Before his perfect game. So, and that was crazy. Seeing that, being there for that. Granted, it was the Mariners, and honestly, the atmosphere in Seattle was... when it first happened, it was great, but at the end, it was, underwhelming. You can imagine what Yankee Stadium would be like if CeCe threw a perfect game. You would just be hearing CeCe chants walking out of the stadium and just people banking and going crazy. And you would have, you would have just thought the Yankees won a regular season game walking out of Seattle that day. So that was, a little bit of a bummer, but that's Seattle. It's not New York. And it was, a day game on a Wednesday that he did it on, I believe. In August, so the crowd wasn't as hyped up because it wasn't a huge crowd, but still that was awesome. Seeing 27 up, 27 down, no. just that doesn't happen. I probably have a better chance of winning the lottery than seeing that again.
That's even cooler.
Yeah.
Number 3 for me is it's gonna be DJ 3K. I was at that game, Jeter's 3,000th hit back in 2012. So actually, funny enough, my cousin had it was a Saturday afternoon. My cousin had a Saturday package with his dad for the season. And there was a tradition that they had. He always had them since they were kids, or when my cousin was a kid. He's younger than me, about 2 years. And he texted me the day before. He said, "Hey, Dev, me and my dad can't go to the game tomorrow. You and your dad want to go?" I said, "Heck yeah, absolutely." Yep. So.
Wow. You know what's real funny? My dad got tickets for that week. We had that whole race series. We had that whole race series.
That was louder. That was the loudest I've ever heard that stadium. That place rocked. That place was bumping. That was a shot. That whole thing, the whole sequence was just so cool to see. And I'll always remember Cheater rounding third and heading towards home, and just seeing Georgie just giving him the biggest hug, and how much that place, how excited that place was to see Jeter hit that 3,000th hit, not only in that fashion, but at home.
Yeah, I was
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And that 5 for 5 day too. Don't forget that part. But I was there for that as well. That was my number 5 on my list. I didn't know to put that over Ibanez or not, but I don't know. That's something about that Ibanez game is freaking awesome. But like I said, if you want to harp on me for putting that at 6, I'm rightfully so, 100%. You can. No, I could have put it at 5. I could have put DJ's 3K at 5 as well. It is because that 5 for 5 day, doing it on the homer off price, yeah, someday. All right, number 2 for me was coming to number 2, being at the Super Bowl in Indianapolis where the Giants took down the Patriots, and Rob Gronkowski just out of the reach on that Hail Mary. I was sitting in the I was in the upper deck in that end zone, like on the right pylon, the back right pylon in the end zone, and Gronkowski dove toward me, and I was like, no, don't catch it. It hit the ground. My brother's face went in between his lap, and my hands went in the air. And I was just like, you're just like speechless at that point. You're just so happy, and to see a Super Bowl won like that, like, yeah, awesome. When you saw Ahmad Bradshaw, basically sit down on the goal line, where you're like, oh, don't go in, just a score. You're like, yeah, you didn't know what you wanted to happen. That was
Super Bowl, especially one that you're going
awesome.
To.
You know what? We had such a long day the day before the Super Bowl because we drove out to Indy. We drove out to Indy that Friday after school. Boom, we went right. We stayed an hour away from Indianapolis. So my dad did all the driving. We got there like Saturday morning at like maybe 4 in the morning, something like that. Went to sleep, got up around 9, and then did all the Super Bowl, festivities they had in Indianapolis. So when you're at that all day and you finally get back, like you're pretty tired. Dude, so tiring. That's the key. Tire yourself out. Don't go out to dinner and then go back to the hotel room. No, you're not going to be able to sleep. Tire yourself out. I think LMFAO performed at like one of the on one of the streets down there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's when LMFAO was on their high ride in 2012 there.
Well, number 2 for me. Okay. Well, similarly,
so that comes in at 2.
Seeing my team win the championship, I was lucky enough to see the Yanks win their last championship 11 years ago, back in 2009, at the stadium, and that was very cool. That was really special for me. I was sitting down on the third baseline, and especially towards the end of the game when they all came around with the flags and everything, I somehow squeezed my 8th grade butt in between people and stuck my hand out, and I could just see Swisher just screaming, and he was just high-fiving every single hand he could possibly see. And I managed to get my hand in there, and I had Swisher and Robinson give me a high five. I'll never forget that. And just seeing that ground ball to Cano, and just seeing Tex put his hands up and run towards the mound, that was really special, especially after that off season they had and the drought that we were in back then. Even though we thought it was long, it was 9 years. I mean, this time it's gonna feel sweet too. But that was really cool and something I'll never forget. But the one thing I'll never forgive myself was that I wanted to go to the parade so bad, but I had to take, so I don't know if you're familiar, but I had to take something called the co-op test, which is the standardized test to get into Catholic high school. I couldn't go to the parade because I had to take the frickin' co-op. So I'll never forget that. Oh, thanks, Lou. Thanks. Yeah,
I was at the parade. I was not at the game, but I was at the parade.
Man,
I think I would have rather switched with you, though, Dev.
I like where I was at, but this year I'll make sure I have both. Oh, man. Last one.
All right. My number 1 was Jeter's final home game. That was hands down the greatest game I've ever been at, even though it had implications like nothing else that I've said. It was basically a meaningless home game. But my God, I would not trade any experience for Derek Jeter's home game. Just everything that happened. The first inning, you thought he went yard. It went off the glass in the outfield. You're like, oh, I thought he had homer in his first at bat. That would have been. Oh, that's the only thing that could have made that day better, is if that ball left the park and wasn't a double. But man, that was the greatest game I've ever been to. And even you saw a little bit of everything. You saw how like cool, calm, collected he was in the beginning, and then in the first time in his career, he said it in the post game. He was like, "Don't hit the ball to me. Don't hit it to me. Like, I'm not ready. Like, don't hit me the ball." And he made his final error on that day. Yeah, I believe he threw the ball away to second base trying to turn two. And you're all thinking, David. Yeah. And that game started off with Hiroki Kuroda giving up back-to-back home runs. That's how that game started. So the roll call was beat. Jeter didn't get up like a proper roll call because they gave up back-to-back homers. And then you have them up, they were up 2 or 3 runs in that ninth inning. And you're going, all right, Girardi, take Jeter out. Like give him his goodbye. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's a man on first. He could hit into a double play. Like, there's one out. They can end the game. Like, get him out. What is he doing? What is he doing? And then David Robertson blows the save. The Yanks tie it up. Yeah. And we're like, thank you, Girardi, for not taking him out. Thank God. And then everyone looked at the scoreboard and was like, guys, Jeter's up third in the inning. He's up third. So, guy gets on. Gardner bunts him over. Jerry Hairston Jr. comes in a pinch run at second base. Then it just chills to the final time he was going to be announced, the final time he was stepping in the batter's box. Just the first pitch swinging, base hit to right field. My seats were right field, mezzanine, right field. So, just base hit to right. You could hear like a pin drop before the ball was thrown. Almost. It was like everyone was cheering, and then as he started to pitch, everyone just got silent. And then you just heard the crack of the bat, and then the stadium just started erupting. It was the most amazing experience that I've ever had.
I agree with
in
you more,
in a stadium.
Why it's my number one too. And God, you going through that, Lou. I was just about to say, as corny as it sounds, it really gives you goosebumps, man. It really does. Just the whole thing, it was scripted towards him. Just everything. The fact that they were out, it was the first time he was playing a home game when the Yankees were mathematically eliminated for the postseason. Unbelievable.
Yeah. First really game, you literally had nothing to play for, and it was the best game ever.
As Yankee fans, you just expect success. And for 15 years, just about 20 years, what am I saying? For 20 years, Jeter made sure there was success every single year. The Yanks were going to have a shot every single year except for that. So going into that game, it was obviously very nostalgic and everything. It was Jeter's last home game and whatnot, but the fact that place was as electric as it was, the reaction was as electric as it was, the fact it ended as cliche, that is the most, the biggest divine intervention thing I could possibly think of. That would be the first example I would bring up to somebody if they asked me an example of that, just absolutely
easily.
Just the way he carried himself throughout his career, and the way he played, and how dramatic he was in terms of just wanting to succeed in high pressure moments, and every little thing, the way he pulled it to right, that classic inside out swing to right through the gap, in between the first and second baseman, just everything. Obviously, I have my own story that goes with that too, so that that goes without saying, but I did.
Did you stay for the post-game conference? They aired on the Jumbotron?
I remember.
Me
You
too.
have to.
I stayed for that. As well. I'm like, we got to see this. I'm like, we're not. No, you didn't want to leave. No one wanted to leave.
I did not
remember
wanna leave
walking
that
out of there
night.
like, I don't want to
not
go.
blame you. And,
I was
obviously,
like,
for the listeners that do listen, I mean, I'm a ball boy every once in a while for the Yanks. So, yeah, people forget.
Yeah.
So I definitely.
People forget.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Ball boy
I got a little
Buonanno.
story with that, but I remember I was leaving the field and I didn't even appreciate that I was a fan that night. Obviously, I'm a diehard Yankee fan, but the fact that I always remember I was standing on the top step of the dugout. Buck Showalter walked right past me and went into the clubhouse, but I was standing right on the top of the top step of the dugout and just looked over my shoulder, and I was watching my childhood hero, his last game I will ever see in pinstripes. I've watched him for 20 years, all countless games going into the old Yankee Stadium, going on the road, doing all this stuff, watching him. How many hours? I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I'm watching him in his last episode as a Yankee. I had a tear coming down my eye. I really did, and a lot of Yankee fans say the same thing.
Yeah, I did too. I'm not gonna lie. I had the water, I had those watery eyes, and just, what it felt like? I felt like, remember when Mo got the final out and his just knees fell and he just collapsed on the mound? I basically did that, and I fell on my brother next to me, or I was just in awe, just in awe. Your childhood hero getting to, live out his career like that. Just
absolutely
so
good,
surreal.
Good
but
job.
that was a great top 5.
So I think that's it for today. We're gonna be back next week, hopefully with more positive sports news. But until then, we'll talk to you guys later. And let's flatten the curve. Stay home.
Till then, let's flatten the curve.
See you guys soon.